Hello and welcome back to Toy Thursday and the first day of 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. We made it into 2026. 2025 was a really good year for myself. I hope you guys had a good year too. Now, I'm not going to do best of the year or worst of the year. I know a lot of people, a lot of reviewers are doing their list, but the reason I'm not going to do it this time is because I was so busy in 2025 that the majority of the stuff I bought or received in 2025, I did not get around to reviewing them or even opening them. Like a lot of the stuff, I'm still reviewing. A lot of stuff that you guys are seeing are things that I got in 2024, 2023. So yeah, I got a lot of catching up to do. So I definitely am not going to be able to do the best of 2025, considering most of them are still in the box. Now today we are going to look at a pair of figures that they're both basically the same, just two different color swap. And yeah, blind guy here have no idea which one is which. So I am not like I'm just going to review them as two different outfit. I'm not going to say comment on their color palette because even when I use AI, AI says they look basically identical. So AI can't even tell me which one is the darker version, which one is the lighter version. But regardless, we're going to be looking at a pair of Fairy Elf Guards, Oak Town Fairy Elf Guards, released by Lazy Monster Studio. This is like a pretty completely original property, and if you can get them on Gundam It or 5K Toys, they were like $16 each, and for that price, they're really really good. Now I saw them being sold on Big Bad Toy Store for 89.99. They're still pretty good at $90. But see the problem, I'm going to just drop this one right off the bat. The problem with selling these for $90 or buying them for $90 is these are meant to be troop builders. These are meant to be something that you might want three or four um, to stand on your shelf. So in my opinion, anyway, and keep in mind that some people have a lot of money, they don't care. But in my opinion, when you're making something or selling something specifically for the purpose of troop builder, then you need to keep it below a certain price range. Otherwise, it becomes not worth it, no matter how many different accessories they got or how many different options they got. You know, uh, like honestly, these elf guards they come with a lot of body part options. They even have extra torso, uh, alternate head and hair and hands and bare feet and all that stuff. But you still like if you want to mass build your troop, that's a lot of money. Okay, so that keep that in mind. Um, Also, a quick shout out to my fellow reviewer, Stygian Hoplite. He has reviewed the Old Town Fairy Elf Guard. So if you guys want a more professional take, go check out his channel. Right now, without further ado, we'll look at some package photos, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about these fair elf ladies. Depending on where you get these figures from, they range from 60 US dollar to 90 US dollar. If you are one of the lucky ones that get them for $60 or less, then that's really really good deal. I mean, you are getting a figure that is about 7 inches tall, comes with two swords, a staff. Is that even a staff? To me, that like remind me of something like a dog catcher. Okay, and a short bow, not a long bow, and a quiver of arrow. And there's two head options, three hair pieces, 10 hands in total, and a bunch of little doodads like banana. Why is there a banana? I don't know. You tell me. Water skin pouches that you can decorate the figure with. Bare feet option, an extra torso. I just love that. I need to have an extra torso. Like you're getting a lot of value for $60. Now if it's for $90, then it's not quite that good, but it's still a good figure. The box also comes with a nice little backstory blurb, little details about the figure that I'm going to include in the description section for those who are interested in reading a little bit about the figures themselves. Yeah, okay, I'm cheating a little bit. I have the elf guard. This version is the more stripped down. I label her the like savage warrior configuration, right? Like she's more in her like bikini, but I left the skirt on because I like how the sword hang off her skirt like that. Like if you display her without the skirt, there's no convincing way for her to really carry her weapon, unless I want to dig up one of the straps from Mythic Legions. Anyway, so I'm yeah cheating a little bit. I have her standing leaning against the centaur in the back because these figures, while the version that have shoes have holes at the bottom of their feet, and you can use the display stand. The barefoot version, like the one I have on display right now, she doesn't have a hole at the bottom of her feet, and her toe joints make her a little bit annoying to stand. You can do it. I like you can see in the upcoming set of photos that I got them to stand, no problem. But it takes a lot of careful balancing and stuff like that. It's not the easiest thing, and uh, while her joints are not very super loose, they are not super tight either. So it's a little bit annoying trying to stand them. Uh, just my opinion, of course, but I personally don't like figures that have toe joints. Like toe joints is one of those things that I am perfectly fine doing without because most of the time toe joints, unless they are done very very well, they just make the figure ridiculously hard to stand for photos or for videos and stuff like that. So just to cut down on aggravation, I have her leaning against the centaur like this, more or less kind of realistic pose. Um, Now, as I mentioned, these original properties, they do have somewhat of a lore or description that I will put in a video description. It's not much, but it does sort of give you a little bit of a glimpse into what is the concept between these. Now, when I first saw the name of these Oaktown Fairy Elf guards, I was a little bit taken aback because in my head, elf is elf, fairy is fairy. You know, a fairy and elf are not the same. Um, so I kind of double checked with different sources, because here the word fairy is spelled Fairy, and then we have the fairy Faerie. So I always thought they were the same thing, right? And so I double checked, and basically they kind of are. Fairy Fairy basically means the different fantasy creatures from the Fey world. So that might include elf. The company is not totally wrong here. Now the word Faerie or IES fairies, those are the little mischief uh, winged creatures. Those are uh, just those those are a specific type of creature. So Fairy means creatures from the Fey world. including trolls, elves, pixies, fairies, and all that stuff. And fairy, Fairie, means little winged buggers that's just annoying. Um, that's a little bit of a trivia. See, you learn something every day when you watch Johnny Tiger. Anyway, um, back to our fairy elf guard. Now these, I would say the good things about these figures is again, if you can get them for $60, you are getting a hell of a good deal. They come with a lot of stuff. Um, the swords and the armor, a lot of the stuff is really intricate, really well made, and also like the boss fight studios figures, everything on these guys are removable. In fact, I would imagine if you have any of the boss fight figures, I do. I just haven't opened them yet. But if you have them around, I would imagine some of the armors might be interchangeable between boss fight studio figures and these fairy elf guards. I mean, they have the kind of a same configuration, at least the way my limited knowledge is telling me. Now these are at first I thought they might be kind of like the Grey Knight or Mithril Studio guys, but then when I have this in hand, it's not the same because the Grey Knight Studio um, figures, their upper torso have that soft, excuse the hand, they have that soft construction, but these are perfectly solid, like totally solid. There's other than use. This is. I need to do something about the surface. Maybe I should get a like a game mat or something because this is really slippery for the figures to stand. So these figures they are very solid. The only the armor, the overlay armor is soft rubber. The rest of the figure is like hard plastic. So that's definitely not the same as what we've seen with Mithril Studio. They stand just about 7 inches tall, and I know some people mention that that they don't fit in with your 112 figures because they're too tall. Uh, I guess it depends on what you're using them for. I think as elves, that's pretty reasonable. I think like when you consider how tall Gil-galad and Elrond and even Galadriel were in Lord of the Ring compared to normal people, elves are kind of supposed to be tall. So I think having like these elves a little bit taller than your regular people, it's perfectly fine. At the very end of the video, we'll have some size comparison with World of Warcraft and Warland and Lord of the Ring figures, and yeah, like these ladies are definitely on the slightly bigger side, but I think as some fantastic fey creature, uh, that's totally fine. Now, if you if you get them with the express purpose of using their body, that just sounds wrong. I mean, using their body for customizing. If you wanted to make a superhuman or I don't know, Jean Grey or whatever you want to make out of them, then yeah, they would be too big because they're definitely larger than your average Marvel Legend ladies. Articulation wise, most of it is pretty decent. We have like a very decent double jointed knee. We have a very good like you know range in the shoulders and arms. Like this pose is really cool. How I have her hold her. Is that a staff? Is that a halberd? What is that? honestly, when I first came across when I first took this weapon out of the package, all I could think of was some kind of dog catcher or something. Like, what do they use this for? Like, is this just a magical staff, or with a weird top, or what is it supposed to be? I don't know. Uh, I just think of it as some kind of long pole arm or halberd weapon. Okay, so arm and legs work really good, and even with the skirt on, you can get a pretty decent split, and really high kick out of it, right? I mean, if you're wearing skirt like that with nothing underneath, I wouldn't recommend you to kick like that. But maybe elves, they don't care about that kind of stuff, and they'll just do break dancing, even when going commando. I don't know. Uh, dif- different strokes for different folks. You know. Anywho, so most of the articulation do work really good, and they come with quite a few weapons option and hand and head hair option. Like I said, there's an extra torso. If you want to display them like full armor with nothing underneath, or no armor but wearing some like a bikini, uh, you know, there's definitely options there. And then there's a barefoot version, and then there's a shoes option to go with it. So it's a highly customizable figure with very decent articulation, playability, paint and sculpt, very decent. Like, I wouldn't say the sculpt is super amazing, but honestly, after handling quite a few 60 to $100 figures from third-party companies in this last year, I would say this is up there with some of the better ones. Like, no breakage. Well, there was one breakage. We'll talk about that later. But uh, with relatively no breakage, and relatively no hassle, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. So yeah, overall, I would say, as one of the uh, third-party figures that I've handled, these Fairy Elf Guard from Lazy Monster Studio, definitely a very welcome addition to my collection. Now let's look at some accessory photos and posing photos, and we'll come back and I'll talk about some of the flaws with the figure. Now, these figures would have been my idea of hand candy, if not for a few little niggling details. They really do articulate beautifully. Nothing's too loose, nothing's too stiff. Um, Other than the toe joints, sometimes make them really hard to stand up. Like, I really wish these come with a stand, and also there's no hole for a stand on the bottom of the bare feet. So that can be a bit difficult. Like, one of these, I posed her with bare feet, and she doesn't stand very good. Um, there's definitely a lot of accessories here for us to take photos with, and one thing I will say that those little doodads, like the pouches and the water skin, that really annoy me, because they could have been so good at decorating the figure, but you can't really use them because they fall off very easily. They don't attach very good. Like, I think um, Lazy Monster Studio here really should take a page out of um, Harbinger Studio and just use the peg system to peg this in, rather than trying to be clever and have them hang off the belt. Because those clips break off very easily. Those little hooks on the belt break off very easily. Even when you finally hook them on, these things fall off as soon as you bump them or move the figure around. They're really annoying. Um, Other than that, there's a lack of waist articulation, which at first it doesn't seem like a big problem until you start posing them and you realize there are a lot of fighting poses that get limited because of this lack of waist articulation. Be careful when you're switching body parts, there's a lot of grease on some of the joints and you're going to smear grease everywhere. Now we look at the fully armored, fully tricked out version. I got two of these. One I'm going to display with a minimal outfit, and one I'm going to dress in full armor. Uh, Ideally, I would want a third one to make use of that third hair. But like I said, these are not exactly cheap, so I think two is more than enough. And not to mention, there's only two face options anyway. Um, what are some of the flaws or cons with these figures? Well, one of the issues is when you're switching body parts, there's a lot of grease on the joint. Now, that might be good for the joint, but it's not good for the person having to swap stuff. Especially sometimes you can't avoid getting your finger in there and then end up smearing grease all over the damn place. I had to constantly wipe my hand and wash my hand when I was doing these photos. That was really annoying, right? Um, Another issue that and this is like a really big issue, in my opinion, with these figures is even though they come with a lot of like stuff like quivers and sheath, like things for to hang the sword on, and there's like water pouch and um, uh, uh, pouches and a lot of little doodads to like outfit your figure. These things don't attach very good. Okay, other than the thing that like the if you want to peg something into the back, that attaches fine. And honestly, that's what the company should have stuck with. It's just a peg system. You know how like on Harbinger Studio with their Savage Crucible line, how you can peg things into the belt. That's what they should have done, not this hook and loop system because the loop break easily, the hook on each piece of gear break easily, and then even after you finally hook them on, the moment you move the figure or the moment the figure fall over, the thing fall off. It's just endless aggravation when I was trying to trick them out. So as a result, as you can see, I end up having to use twist tie to wire the quiver onto the belt so it's not constantly falling off this side as well. Okay, so you might have to end up doing that, like just wire or use a piece of string or whatever to secure these things so they stay on. Uh, like I said, the hooks that's supposed to hold them on, quite a few of them end up breaking when I was trying to get them onto the belt, and yeah, it's just not a very good design as far as that goes. Like honestly, if you, especially for small things like water pouch and canteens and stuff like that, just either make them a peg system or sculpt them as part of the belt. Like honestly, I don't need them to be separate from the belt because even if I have to put them on myself, once I put them on, I'll probably never take them off again. I don't need them to come off, right? Uh, anyway, that's one of the biggest issue I have with these figures. One more, and this one's more like a caution, right? These figures, as you see on this fully armored one, have these articulated shoulder pauldron. Let me get closer. Yeah, right here. Okay, you got these on both sides. These pauldrons are mounted to ball joints on the chest plate. Don't try to pull them off without applying heat to them first. Like most of this figure came across so apart so easily when I was um, changing things up. I got careless, and so when I was taking off the shoulder pauldron, I thought it was going to come off uh, easy like the rest of the stuff. Well, I ended up breaking them off on the armor of the other one. This one over here, this near like a more stripped down version, one over here. So I mean, luckily I was going to display her without her armor anyway, so I'm not too bummed about breaking the shoulder pieces. But yeah, like if you try to remove them without heating them up, the ball joint will break. This is actually something that I really should have learned my lesson because my Lazy figure that I reviewed earlier this year also broke for that similar reason. Like the armor was mounted on a ball joint, and I tried to pull it off, and the ball joint ended up breaking. Yeah. So, uh, note to self: from now on, if there's a piece of removable armor on ball joint, warm it up first. It's just not a good way to break a $60, $80 figure, right? Um, What else? Well, the lack of articulation in the torso. That honestly, at first, when I was watching Stygian Hoplite's review, I didn't think that would be a problem. I was thinking, well, if the rest of the figure is really well articulated, and the lack of a waist crunch or ab crunch should be okay, right? Well, not really. With these figures, they're so much fun to play with. So the moment you realize, oh, they can't bend, they can't touch their own toe, and they can't get into very deep poses because of the lack of anything in the waist or abs, it's extra vexing, right? Uh, if it's a big character, right? Like if it's I don't know, Juggernaut, if it's Juggernaut or Abomination that don't have ab crunch or waist articulation, I'm okay with that because most of the time those characters not really going to bend over. But something that clearly meant to go into a lot of martial arts or fighting poses, like these nimble looking elf ladies, then very quickly, the lack of a waist articulation or ab crunch becomes very apparent when you try to pose them in anything too dynamic. So, that is a bit of a issue. With all that said, uh, I want to still stress the fact that these are, especially for a first time for Lazy Monster Studio, they definitely cemented the company's uh, place in my collection, and they already announced the next two pre-order. They are coming out with like a female assassin or and then a female like a priestess or something. I don't know if they're going to be built on these bodies. I'm thinking they might. If they want to reuse this mode, they'll probably just change the outfit. I don't know, but I already pre-ordered them. Like, that's how happy I am with this company that I've never heard of before. So if you also were lucky enough to bring home an elf guard or two or three or 30, I hope you're happy with them as well. Now, we'll have my final words. Now, treat you to a little striptease. Now, normally I'm not into stripping down my female action figures. Well, any action figures. I have no need for naked people on my shelf, and I don't really do any customizing. So I tend to display them as what they are meant to be, with armor and weapons and all that stuff. With that said, because it's New Year, Happy New Year, we are going to do a little elven striptease to make everybody happy. Be careful. Again, remember if you want to remove her pauldrons from her chest armor, heat it up before trying to remove them. I learned it the hard way and ended up pulling them off and breaking the ball joints on both sides, so now they won't go back on. Other than that, everything came off easily, and once you remove the armor, she's pretty well articulated and get into more poses. Uh, Although during this procedure, I did end up getting grease everywhere and had to constantly stop and wash my hands, so that part was really annoying. At first, I thought that her body was too scrawny, and then I realized it's just her arms and her shoulders. The rest of her is really well built and definitely would make a nice buck for customizers. Also, I initially thought that she was the same body used by Mithril Studio or Grey Knights for the Morna action figure, but then I stood them side by side and realized no, it's not the same body. Morna is even more well built than these elven ladies. Happy 2026, and thank you for checking out this video.